Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to my world. Welcome to Uber Hints. And happy Mother's Day, all you mothers. It is Mother's Day. It's Sunday. I hope that you had an opportunity um, to spend this day with your own mother. Unfortunately, my mother, as many of you know, is no longer with us, but she was in my heart, and I did. Sorry for looking off to the side, but I always like to make sure that we are live here. So I did actually spend part of the day with my mother-in-law, so I guess that kind of counts. And quite interesting. They had a special Mother's Day dinner at the care facility where my mother-in-law now resides, and so we went there for. It was really a good meal. They had two choices for the main course. They had filet mignon or lobster, and of course I chose the filet mignon. And then my mother-in-law, she's not a real big eater, so as soon as she got hers, she cut it in half and put half. I mean, they were just tiny, miniature little things. So I got my filet and half of hers, and it was just an interesting time with all these old folks, in the dining room. And so you had a choice between lobster or filet mignon. And I hear this old timer on the other table. I guess he couldn't make up his mind. He ordered surf and turf. So, and then some other poor gal comes in, who knows how old she was. And she had drawn on her eyebrows. And one was about here and the other was up there. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm happy that she's out and about. And later on I saw a woman came and joined her, so maybe that was, a family member, a daughter or something. So God bless her. But I'll tell you, when she came with those eyebrows, it was all I could do to hold back my laughter. And what else? They had a singing duet. I don't know. They had, some music going from their iPads or something, and the guy was playing a bass guitar, and the woman had, this thing couldn't have been, it wasn't very big. It was maybe 10 by 18, something like that. But apparently it was some kind of an electronic drum pad, because this woman was drumming on it. And they weren't spring chickens themselves. They looked to be about 70 years old. And this woman came up with just adulation in her eyes and told this man that he was just had such a wonderful voice, and he's the greatest singer she ever heard. He wasn't. I mean, really, he would not have gone on to Hollywood, if you know what I mean. A little pitchy dude. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Everyone was enjoying themselves, and I got to meet a 100-year-old lady tonight, and so that was kind of fun, visiting someone. Think about that. This old gal was born in 1923. So all in all, it was kind of pleasant, I suppose. So where are we going to start today? The first comment that I got here was, AI will never replace drivers. But I didn't necessarily say AI. I said, well, high tech cost drivers their jobs. And there is a difference, isn't there? I think people are calling everything AI now. And I suppose self-driving cars, would you consider a self-driving car to be artificial intelligence? I mean, I suppose maybe so. I guess technically it would be. But let's see if I can adjust this just a little bit so I can both read everything. All right. So anyway, what are we going to start with? Might as well start with the lead story, and there are several subsets to this. So the lead story says self-driving rideshare company cruises its robo-taxis into Dallas. So this just gave me a lot of food for thought, because I have never been a big proponent of self-driving cars and rideshare. Now, I don't have any doubt that, um, oh, you wrote divers. Did I hope I didn't write divers did I write divers? Now I have to check if I did say divers. Oh, good Lord. Well, we're going to have to wait until that gets, until we're done. When we're done with the live stream, then we'll go in and we'll change it. All right. I know, glasses on, glasses off, glasses on, glasses off. So, I've never been a big proponent of self-driving cars for rideshare. Primarily because, not necessarily because it would cost divers their jobs, but mostly because I have always questioned whether a company can afford to maintain a fleet of vehicles. And I wonder, the closer this gets and the better the technology becomes, I read some of these articles and some of the rationale, and maybe I'm 50-50 right now. They might be winning me over a little bit. Not that I think it's a good thing, but I think it might be a possibility. So let's read some of this article. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I like to read bits and pieces. So, all new electric rideshare service is coming to Dallas Fort Worth, and it's going to be Cruise. You've heard of Cruise. We've talked about it on this channel before. The all-electric driverless car company backed by GM. Remember that. That is key. Backed by GM. So is GM getting into the rideshare business? Or are they just using this as the experiment, as to, their prototype to getting driverless cars into the market? And, I don't know. I don't have the answer to this. These are just ideas that kick around in my head. Right now, does rideshare have a little bit of an edge? Do they get special, dispensation, if you want to call it, special opportunities, legality? I don't know. Do they get to do things that maybe private car owners don't, as far as driverless vehicles? I just wonder that, because I don't know anybody that privately owns one of these things and is allowed to let it go just free without a driver, but the rideshare vehicles tend to. So that's the first thing that goes on in my head is this company doing it as a practice to unveiling it for the general public? Anyway, so you and I can own them. This follows the initial launch in Austin in 2022, their first city in Texas. My daughter lives in Austin, and one of these days I'm going to have to talk to her and ask her if she's ever seen these things. Maybe I'll spring for a ride for her and see what it's like. Cruise builds and operates driverless vehicles that you can call via an app like any other ride-hailing service. But our vehicles show up without anyone else inside. It's kind of like Dr. Seuss, the green pants with nobody inside. It was just a pair of pants. Ran around all by itself. It even rode a bicycle, for crying out loud. The entire fleet is all electric, and the vehicles are equipped with a 360 view with the ability to react to whatever they encounter. Whatever they encounter, no matter what they encounter, it's going to react. Well, reacting and responding appropriately are two different things, right? So, they talk about, I'm skipping a little of the history here. A customer taking a 1.3 mile trip would pay 90 cents per mile and 40 cents per minute, in addition to a $5 base fee and 1.5% city tax, for a total of $8.72. By comparison, an Uber ride for the same trip would cost at least $10.41. Well, doesn't it matter where you're going, how long it's going to take? How do they know that 40 cents per minute is going to hold? How do you know traffic's going to be like? I don't know. Then it gives some history about it, and it rolled out in 2013. In 2022, they had roughly 300 all-electric AVs powered by 100% renewable energy. I don't know exactly what that means, because they do have to plug it in. And where you plug it in, it's not guaranteed to be renewable, right? It's going to be whatever the grid in that area uses to generate their electricity. So I'm kind of wondering how they can say it's 100% renewable energy. But this is, so they're also doing deliveries in partnership with Walmart. So says here, Vogt, who is their CEO, Kyle Vogt, says their cars drive the speed limit, come to a complete stop at every sign, respond to police sirens, flashing lights. We'll talk about that in a minute. Something kind of funny happened. On fire trucks or ambulances, stop signs that fold out of school buses. They react to people on scooters, people using bike lanes, cars driving on the wrong side of the road. In short, they're designed to drive safely by obeying the law and driving in a human-like way. I don't know. I've never seen a human do all those things. Maybe just the fact that it does do things that the average person doesn't, like stop at every stop sign rather than roll through it, right? They don't get caught up in conversation or changing the radio station or, looking for a song on Spotify or whatever stupid things we do. Maybe it'll see those idiots that walk in the street every morning at 6 o'clock when I'm on my way to work. I don't know. When the vehicle encounters a situation where they aren't 100% sure what to do, they slow down or stop and pull over to the side of the road. This has caused some bumps in San Francisco where cars stopped and idled in the street for no apparent reason, delaying bus riders and disrupting the work of firefighters. Well, that's not a good thing. If it can't make up its mind, so it just stops in the middle of a fire truck, right now those fire trucks or cops or whatever, they can start honking at you, or they can get on their, PA and their loudspeaker and say, "Get the heck out of the road," right? They can do all that stuff. And, okay, something just happened here. I just realized. I'm not plugging in. I don't want to. I don't want to die literally or figuratively when I'm in a live stream. It would defeat the purpose of the name live stream, wouldn't it? So, but if they can't pull over, they can't respond to someone asking them to pull over, order them to pull over, or keep moving, or get out of the lane, or whatever. So, anyway, it says that they're rolling these things out. So, I looked up another little story about them because I wanted to know what's Cruise all about. So this company claims that if they can get to $1 billion in revenue by 2025, or that's what they're hoping to get to. And this next article in Forbes says, well, 1 billion in revenue isn't the same as making a profit. This is a great story. If you haven't read this is a great story. Ever since Cruise CEO Kyle Vogt declared a goal of reaching $1 billion revenue by 2025, numerous reporters have asked me if it's realistic. This is the Forbes reporter talking. After doing a bit of math, I can say it's definitely not unrealistic. In fact, it's quite possible. I'm skipping around a little bit here. So what exactly does $1 billion in revenue mean for a robo-taxi and automated delivery company? I love this term, robo-taxi now. I like that so much because it reminds me of Johnny Cab from Total Recall. Cruise declines to specify precisely how much it charges for the rides. Well, I don't know, he said it in the other article. But acknowledge that it's the same ballpark as other ride-hailing services like Uber and Lyft. Waymo and Motional have similar rates in Phoenix and Las Vegas. Okay, let's get past all this. So this guy's going to do some math now, okay? Going with the low end of $2.50 per mile. Is that what they said in the other story? In the other story, well, I don't know, I already deleted the other story. I forgot what they said. I should have compared that. $2.50 a mile, $1 billion translates into 400 million miles of paid rides. In the U.S. over the past decade, apart from 2020. I suppose that's because that's when the pandemic was going on. Drivers have accumulated about 3 to 3.2 trillion miles traveled. That 400 million miles for cruise would amount to just 0.0125% of all miles driven a year. So cruise wouldn't actually have to displace very much driving to hit the $1 billion mark. Okay, so how many cruise robotaxis would it take to get there? We will be seeing them everywhere. Probably not in 2025 or not in most cities. So here's where he does his math. They assume cruise AVs will be running 20 hours a day, leaving some downtime for charging, cleaning, maintenance, etc. If we assume that, so this is all the math, this is pretty interesting. 20 hours a day, averaging 20 miles per hour in urban areas. I don't know if that's possible. That seems pretty fast to me. 20 miles an hour average. Running 365 days a year. He's assuming these things will never break down. Each vehicle would run about 146,000 miles annually or 400 miles per day. All right, this sounds like wishful thinking. 146,000 miles. Now, with my Venza, I've put on about 10,000 over them. I'm at about 155,000 right now. That's over 10 years. But putting that kind of mileage on in 1 year, it sounds like a lot more maintenance than they're planning for. So 400 miles a day. Assuming the vehicles have a 50% utilization rate, the percentage of miles of the paying customer or cargo load, that would mean 73,000 revenue miles per year. Half the miles are driven with, that's possible, but where are they going to hang out? Where are these driverless cars gonna hang out when they're not picking someone out? You know, are they? I don't know. These are things that we never really discuss, is it? While some AV advocates have talked about 80 to 90% utilization rates for AVs, no. That's probably very optimistic in the early years. Some reports have indicated that cruise robotaxis in San Francisco, what do you think it is currently? What do you think they're doing right now? All right, they're talking about you have to have, what did he say, 50%? Right now, it says San Francisco, they currently have less than 10% utilization. Wow. While empty miles in robotaxi mode may well exceed passenger carrying miles in the early years, integrating deliveries could significantly improve that ratio by 50%. Oh, deliveries. This is where things get interesting. Whenever I did deliveries, I had to carry this stuff up. Even during the pandemic, I had to carry it up and leave it outside their door. So this, unless they're going to incorporate two different types of delivery service, right? One is the car that gets it there, and then they're going to have one of those little robot things we talked about a few weeks ago. Maybe the door opens up, this thing pops out, and it rolls up to, no, you can't go upstairs and elevators. And so that means you're going to have to run out in snow and ice and sleet and rain and dead of night to pick up your food, right? So, and someone's going to have to run out to load that food into the car too. I don't know. It seems like, utilizing these for delivery is ambitious and at best, maybe unworkable. So they're saying integrating deliveries could significantly improve the ratio. So 50% by 2025 isn't too wildly off the mark. That is less than 2 years. I'm going to hang on to these stories. Remember, I hung on to that story, to several of them, about the flying cars. That was back in like 2016, 2017 when I was starting the channel. And I said, ain't going to happen. There is no way. And they said something like by 2020 or 2021, Uber would be flying cars. And they were so positive about it. And I arrogantly brought those videos back out. When 2021 came, they didn't even own the company anymore. All right. Achieving 400 million revenue miles with 73,000 miles per vehicle would require about 5,500 vehicles. That's a lot of vehicles. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's Fatal Accident Reporting System, there were over 297 million registered vehicles in the U.S. in 2020. I love this guy's math. Those 5,500 cruise AVs would account for less than 0.002% of total vehicle fleet. Barely a drop in the bucket. Yeah, but they're not all ride shares. That's what ride share is. No, registered vehicles, not ride share vehicles. Okay. And they're talking about all of them that are on the road testing. And so profitability remains a whole other matter. While Cruise has hinted that the Origin, that's one of their types of vehicles, may cost as little as $50,000 to build, that may, notice that is the key word, may cost as little. That means they cost 80. It's a likely target for the second generation model that features more purpose-built systems like sensors and compute platforms. Even at 50,000, Cruise still has to install depots for charging, cleaning, and maintenance, scale up the support staff, and of course pay for the charging. Oh yeah, cleaning, maintenance, charging, and I'm telling you, they are not counting on. I just had, Toyotas are very well built, and I just had, the rear bearings on my car replaced to the tune of about $1,500, so, and that's fine. I don't care. My car is paid for. If I only have to put $1,500 in it every couple of years, I'm fine with that. But it's cheaper than buying or renting another car. So achieving 400 miles a day will require at least 3 to 4 fast charges. The AV hardware consumes as much as 4 kilowatt hour. Okay, and so it's talking about how it's going to use it. It's hard to say what their actual per mile cost will be in 2025. So Cruise achieving $1 billion revenue by 2025, a far less crazy claim that much of what we're hearing from automated driving boosters between 2012 and 2018, much of what we were hearing. But making self-sustaining business will still be a huge challenge. Somewhere in here, I think, when I passed it up, and they talk about the point that, Uber and Lyft is yet to make any profits. I don't know. They claim they do. All right, interesting. I'm going to go read the live comments now. See what's going on here. AI will never replace divers. You're exactly right. My house was built in April 1923. Okay, I'm assuming that that's in relation to the woman I met who was born in 1923. Not to mention security concerns of passengers. What do you think security concerns of passengers will be? I mean, right now, it seems to me that the driver is presenting a risk. I don't know if the driver is safer or creating more of a risk. Here's one story. Sexual battery trial underway for Oklahoma County rideshare driver. A trial is underway for a rideshare driver in Oklahoma County charged with sexually battering his passenger. I don't know exactly what constitutes sexually battering, but it ain't good. Investigators said in 2021, Timothy Green picked up a victim from a bar in Edmond, attacked her, then left her in another car belonging to someone else in Logan County. I don't understand this. How do you leave someone in another car? I don't get it. Green is charged with sexual battery, kidnapping, and grand larceny. Grand larceny. Maybe stole another. I don't know. The jury was seated Monday and could start deliberating soon. Well, so my point is, when you say a safety concern, I don't know. Do they really feel safer with drivers? How does a driver add a level of safety? I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if a driver being in there makes it any safer or less safer. So I don't know about a security concern. Do you mean they're going to drive more safely? They're going to protect them? I don't know. You'd have to expand on that. I always stop at stop signs. Oh, you are a very unusual individual because most drivers don't. Car will be trashed after 5 rides. I won't be beat. Happy Mother's Day right back at ya. Very unlikely to put 400 miles a day. I used to drive 12 hours a day, usually ran under 200 miles of city driving. Yeah, but they can drive forever. They don't have a driver. They don't get tired. They're not going to pull them off the road. They can drive 20 hours a day, he said. How much to buy an autonomous vehicle? Well, we just talked about that. They're saying it'll... See, here's the thing. If you are the company... Now, remember, this Cruise is operated by GM. So if you are the rideshare company, you build the cars, the expense of the car is the only overhead. You don't have, all the dealer fees and, paying commissions to salespeople and all that. So that may be part of it. But I still wonder, does GM really want to be in the rideshare business? In my mind, and you can't have... I bet only Uber internal employee punks are going to do that. The ones that are going to be without jobs. You're thinking more in lines of traveling alone in a vehicle. Okay, I don't know if that's any more or less safe. I just don't know. I went from 94 to 2019 without a ticket. I haven't had a ticket. Oh, man. When was the last time I got a ticket? It was probably more recent than 90. Maybe not. I don't know. It's been a long time. Nomad vehicles, yeah. And there's the percentage of miles paid. That's what they were talking about. They're saying 50%. I don't buy it. I'm so glad that those autonomous vehicles comes around to pick me up. Often I need to go to the restroom, so it'd be a great way to call mobile restroom to where you are. I see what you're saying there. I don't know. A rock through the window accomplishes the same thing as what? A rock through the window? They don't care. They don't care. They'll keep driving. They'll put in their time when they pull up to their service station. Maybe it'll be a robot. Do you think of that? Maybe they'll pull up and a robot arm will come out and take the broken windshield off and put a new one on, in and out in 15 minutes. And they're back on the road. Oh, a rock through the window accomplishes the same thing as a keypad. Well, that's true. That is true. All right. Hey, what is happening in Los Angeles? An Uber driver was shot Saturday morning in Echo Park. Now, I know people get sick of me having all these stories. Every single week, I have stories of getting shot, getting carjacked, having guns pulled, getting beaten. You say, this is getting old. Why do you tell me about it? You shouldn't get upset with me for telling you the story. You should get upset with the people that run these cities for allowing this type of crime to happen over and over and over and over. And it goes unpunished. And the message that's sent is you can do this with impunity. That's why I keep running these stories. And it shouldn't happen this often. The fact that I can have multiple stories, and I just pick the ones that float to the top. Or low hanging, however you want to look at it. There are. I'm sure for every one I read, there's a dozen that I don't. And the fact that I'm able to read these week after week after week tells you that this is just unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Authorities responded to the call about 12:30 a.m. about shots fired. Nothing good happens after midnight. Officers arrived at Lemoyne Street and Sunset Boulevard and found the driver suffering from a gunshot wound to the hand. This is the one that kills me, this next sentence, okay? The driver refused medical attention, and it's believed no one else was injured. You got shot. I don't care if it's the hand, you got shot. Why would you refuse medical attention? A bullet going through your hand, I'm telling you, it's not good. That's lead. It's a good thing that bullet didn't go through his hand and he was scratching his head. So Why would you refuse medical treatment? You don't have insurance, maybe? You got more important things to do? You're a banger and you don't want to have something reported? I don't know. It's unknown if the driver was targeted or hit by a stray bullet. Interesting. So, this one's interesting. Now, granted, this is not out of the US. So, for our friends down under, here is a story from, okay, what is this? It says something is being held. Why is something being held for review? Did one of you say something naughty? I don't know what's being held for review here. Oh well. Okay, Fury as alleged mistake by Uber Eats driver leads to $3,500 damage bill. What is that in real money? Okay, so let me see. 3,500 Australian in US. Oh, it's a lot less. So they must be kind of like Canada, you know, the money's not worth that much. It's worth about 2,300 here. So we're talking $2,300. Still a substantial bill to have to pay damage, right? It's kind of funny. Everybody should learn from this. A Melbourne man weekend came to a frustrating end after he claims an Uber Eats driver sideswiped his car while delivering food to a neighbor's house. How did this happen? This goes under the heading Too Stupid to Drive. Alex Wilson from Wyndham Vale, southwest of the city, said the delivery driver dropped off food in the street just before 10 p.m. I don't think he dropped it off in the street. I think he pulled up in the street, probably took it to a house. And allegedly, here it is, forgot to put the vehicle in park. As the driver got out to deliver the food, he hadn't put the car brake on, and we live at the bottom of a slight hill, and the cars just rolled from the top off address and sideswiped our car. I'm sorry, I said top off, drop off address. I don't know why I said top off. So it rolled down from where it had parked to deliver and sideswiped this guy's car. He didn't put the emergency brake on. He didn't put the car in park. He just left. Oh, good Lord. Following morning, the Mermaid Crescent resident noticed his black Toyota Yaris, well, okay, he probably did you a favor, had deep scrapes down one side with the side mirror, and I shouldn't say that. It's a Toyota, a pretty good car, actually. A side mirror now missing. And yet the picture I'm seeing, the side mirror is clearly there. It's dangling, but it's clearly there. Photos posted on Facebook show the mirror lying on the ground. Well, I'm looking at a picture of it, and I can see the mirror on the car. It's details like that annoy me. Another image, seemingly captioned on the neighbor's CCTV. Okay, that's just a camera, right? Shows Uber Eats delivery driver standing outside the property at 9:51. Mr. Wilson said no note was left and no effort to contact the family was made. While he has been able to get the driver's name from the neighbor's order information, he has been unable to get the car's registration number. And you're seeing, one of these night vision things. Look like it might be a wet night. And for some reason, they blurred this guy's face. I wouldn't have blurred his face. I don't know what, that's Australia. Because the order was Sunday night, we got the details Monday, the order's been finalized and closed, so the driver's registration isn't visible. So what are they saying, that in the app from their neighbor, you can no longer see the information, the driver's name and vehicle and that sort of thing? Maybe. Uber Eats says they're aware of the accusation and are following up. Uber Eats takes this tag, blah, 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 blah. They take it very seriously. You know that. Victoria police confirmed a report was made to them and are also investigating. However, Mr. Wilson said he was told by authorities he could be waiting for up to 4 months to get information from Uber. Why would it take 4 months? Technology. We are in the age of immediate information retrieval. You know, if they want to get that information, they could have it like that. You know they can. 4 months. Repairs to the family car estimated between $3,000 and $3,500. Well, I mean, it's a shame that happened, but that should be a lesson to all of us. Put your car in park. Set the brake if you're on a hill. All right. Let's see, playing a little catch up here with our chat. Rideshare is high now, so riders are frustrated to begin with. Then they need to enter very frustrating underpaid driver's car. Remember Uber taking money from both sides? Well, yeah, but when they get into the car, it won't be a very frustrated driver. See, that's the thing. They're getting into a car with no driver, no one to smell, no one to talk, things they don't want to talk about, no one to have a bad radio station on that they don't want to listen to. None of that. They get in the car, they sit back, relax, take their ride. You know, trust technology to get them there. If you have Obamacare, it's still $7,000. I assume you're talking about the shot in the hand. I did that once and I was very lucky. What's that? Got shot in the hand? Or I'm assuming you're talking about not setting the brake. I did it once. I have to say, I'm talking about it's too stupid to drive, but I did it once as well. When I was in college, I had a 57 Chevy, and it was parked in the parking lot where I lived. Are you kidding me? And, ooh, I just spilled something, didn't I? And, yep, there it was. My car was gone. So, it only rolled about 10 feet. It didn't hit anything, but I did it too. All right, so Hertz is going all electric. Post-COVID, post-bankruptcy, Hertz is all in on electric with big implications for the EV, auto, and rideshare market. Now, this is interesting. This is really interesting. First of all, I didn't know that Hertz was based in Estero. It's right up the road from me. And they went through bankruptcy and a lot of bad stuff going on there. But they plan to have 25% of its fleets electric by 2024, 1 year, next year, up from 10% now. So, end of March, we'll have 50,000 electrical vehicles in our fleet, comprising a total of 10% of our cars. So what does that mean to rideshare? We're going to jump ahead here because this is what one driver claims. Okay, they're saying Hertz's deal with Uber lets drivers rent EVs for as little as $285 a week for a GM like a Chevy Volt, rising up to $334 for a Tesla Model 3, and higher for a Model Y SUV. Benefits of now this is where it's good for us, okay? Benefits of using an EV begin with $1 per ride credit to the driver for using an EV. The thing is, if you're relying on that to make money, it's not going to be around forever. It's an incentive that's designed to kind of get things off the launch pad, right? Drivers said save on gasoline. Drivers also save on gasoline depreciation. In addition, the driver is eligible for higher priced fares under the company's Uber Comfort electric service. But that stuff is not all going to be, when more of this, when this becomes more common, I don't know if all these incentives are going to stay, which is between the mid-tier Uber Comfort plan and the more expensive Uber Black service. Rental fees also cover the driver's commercial insurance. But as we move down in this article, this is really interesting because they're going to talk about a driver now in Atlanta. Tracy Lynn Young, who's driven for Uber in Metro Atlanta for 7 years, says she pays $340 a week for a Tesla. She says, now tell me if you think this is true. She says she can bank $1,800 a weekend. Not a week, a weekend. So take that 1,800, subtract the 340, you're at 1,460. Charging is 120. So from 1,460, you're down to 1,340. That's pretty good. 1,340 and all your expenses are covered. $1,300 in a weekend. You're just working 2 days. Do you guys buy it? Do you guys buy it? I don't know if I'm buying this. Charging costs 100. I'm sorry. I misread that. 120 less than her gas did. Monthly maintenance is included. She's saving on her own car, which racked up 9,500 miles in 2 years. Okay, I can see that. And she claims she gets a lot more rides because people want to ride in a Tesla. It's an experience they've never had. Okay, here's the problem. The $1 incentive, the special rates for having an EV, the novelty of riding the Tesla, this is all very short term, right? We all know what happens with Uber's incentives. They don't last forever. So, and then it talks about they also benefit from push for environmentally focused management, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, I think it's kind of interesting. Has anyone here done it? Has anyone rented an EV, and what kind of money can you make going that route? Matter of fact, as long as we're asking if anyone's done anything, has anyone here driven, taken a ride in one of those driverless cars that we've been talking about earlier? But I think this is interesting. And I wonder what market they're going to roll out. If they are based in Estero, I'm hoping that they'll roll out driverless cars here in Florida. I don't know what the restrictions are. I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around between driverless and EV, but I still want to see what they are in Florida. See where my mind went. I jumped from one story to the next. Notwithstanding any other laws, a human operator is not required to operate a fully autonomous vehicle. Fully autonomous vehicle may operate in this state regardless whether the human operator is physically present in the vehicle. Well, I hope that they get EV cars, and I hope that they are driverless because I want to drive them in one. But we'll see. This sounds like there's money to be made if it's true. If those numbers that that woman just spewed out are true, there's a lot to be made. Let's see if you guys think it is. I accidentally left my car, came out of a deli, and there was a cab backed into the chain link fence along the freeway. Because Hertz gets guarantee use of sales to Uber drivers and the sales to Teslas. Uber Tesla rental car drivers gonna say, hell, she's lying. I don't know if she's lying or not. It sounds to me like an awful lot of money. It sounds like saying that you're pulling in $1,800 in a... Now she does, there's a qualifier in there. She does say a busy weekend. How many of those has she had? One? I don't know. Now, she says it saves wear and tear on her personal car. What are the restrictions? I've never rented, and I haven't looked at, so as a result, I haven't looked at that rental agreement. If you rent, on this plan, I have to assume you can still drive that thing around as your personal car. Can you or not? Are you required to only use it for rideshare? I have to assume that if you rent the car, you rent the car. You can use it for whatever you want, right? Um, you tell me, if you rent that car for $340 a week or whatever it is it just yours? Whether you want to do ride share or your own car? Because then now you're personal use in addition to earning money with it. I don't know. It sounds good on paper. All right. Here's an interesting story. It's really super short. It doesn't have a lot of details to it. It does have a ride share angle to it. That's the only reason I'm reading it. Disturbing details of Bo Man's, that's his name, Bo. First name is Bo, his last name is Man. Bo Man's remains revealed by fiance who fears tech CEO was murdered after getting into an Uber. Ouch. The heartbroken fiance of a missing tech CEO fears his partner was murdered after his skeletal remains were discovered in an abandoned apartment building. Man, 39, was discovered nearly a year and a half after he disappeared when he got into an Uber outside a 7-Eleven near his Los Angeles office and texted 911. Okay, so what happened to the Uber driver? Got into an Uber, then he texted 911. The location where the body was found is about 20 minutes from where he was dropped off by Uber. His fiance, this looked weird to me. So his fiance is a man. His fiance, Jason Abate, is devastated and told the U.S. Sun in an exclusive interview that he fears Man was murdered. He was dropped off in Santa Monica on November 30th of 2021, and his body was just found now? Wow. Okay. He's never seen or heard from again. For 18 months, loved ones worked tirelessly to find any trace of Man. This is interesting that it has that Uber angle. Who dedicated his life to helping addicts in recovery with the app he founded called Sober Grid. One man championing a Facebook page to find answers was the tech CEO's husband-to-be, Jason Abate, I don't know, who was heartbroken to hear Monday's announcement. So the search for Bo came to a tragic end when his body was discovered in an abandoned apartment complex by a homeless man. His private investigator got in touch with the homeless man, this must be the fiance dude, who alerted authorities of the body, which Abate said was described as a skeleton covered by a gray mat. Man was identified through dental records. The PI asked the homeless man if anything at the scene was taken in as evidence. The man responded, "It didn't seem like they really cared." Normally I'd be shocked, but it's Los Angeles. Because nobody does care in California. The man said they grabbed the body and the mat before swabbing his hand for DNA and leaving. Why would they swab his hand? What, they think, you found him, you must have killed him 18 months ago. Abate acknowledged that no local officials were ever rude to him or Bo's family, but he's urging detectives to take the case seriously as he believes his partner could have been killed. I guess, I'm not laughing at the situation, but it's kind of obvious. I don't believe it was self-inflicted because I just don't know how Bo would get back into an area like that. He was a scaredy cat. While he would help anyone I know, he would not wind up in a situation in a place like that. The drug that he usually did, oh jeez, this gets better and better. The drug that he usually did does not overdose on someone unless it's laced. And he always ends up seeking treatment. Well, that's true. He was an addict, so. At least 30 days of treatment. So I don't believe he was just ODing. A lot of people would probably just say, okay, he was on drugs. I'm not sure I believe that. They asked him what his mental health was like in the days leading up to his disappearance. He said, "I don't think he was doing well, if you want to know the truth." This story's going all over the place. Man was stressed out about work, and he had just gotten home from a Thanksgiving trip to see his mother. Abate, whatever his name is. I'll bounce back and forth just as it's fun. Couldn't attend as he was staying home in Michigan with his dying mother. The CEO said that he and his family had a great time together, but Abate was still concerned. Despite the stress, Mann still spent his final night chatting and discussing the possibility of adopting children. The state police confirmed the body was discovered was Mann's, and anyone coming forward should, or anyone with information should come forward while not disclosing whether foul play was suspected. All right. So, I don't know. That is just, it's just a weird story. What do you think? Do you think the Uber driver killed him? Do you think he committed suicide? Do you think it was Colonel Mustard with a rope in the library? Thoughts down below. All right. My computer's doing weird stuff today. I have a lot of tabs open because I bounce from story to story to story, and I just have them all opened up, ready to jump from one to the next. And unfortunately, it's really slow. I'll click on the tab, and it'll take 5-10 seconds in order for it to actually show the page. So, okay, Lyft CEO says company's doing everything we can to be ready for self-driving cars. See, my mind was on self-driving cars when we were talking about the EVs before because there's so many stories on them here. So, Lyft CEO David Risher said that while the company doesn't immediately plan to use self-driving cars, it's preparing itself for the technology advances. I just don't see how these companies can make it viable. I don't. The technology for self-driving cars is expanding every day across the globe. But companies actively use them for rideshare are still limited to companies like Waymo in San Francisco. So Risher told, and he's a brand new CEO, he's only been there, like a month, said the company's not planning to introduce self-driving cars, but is keeping an eye on the technology. Why do you even bring it up then? If you're not planning on doing it, why do you even, allow it to raise its ugly head, right? And while he's doing that, he's talking about the company laying off 30% of its workforce. Did you see what they closed at? I shouldn't say numbers, because I don't know exactly. I think it was $8.33. When I looked at that chart, it looked to me like it was an all-time low. I could be wrong, so take it with a grain of salt, but it looked like it might be an all-time low. So he could just be trying to get in the news, right? And then he talks about in another related article how Lyft's new CEO is copying his former boss, Jeff Bezos, to turn the company around. This picture of him is so funny. He looks just like Kane. Remember Kane from that old TV show? Man, now we're going back 50 years. What was it called? Kung Fu. You ever see that in the old TV land and stuff? Kung Fu. If you never heard of it, look it up. This guy looks exactly like him. David Carradine. David Risher has a rocky first week at his job. Days after taking over as new CEO, he announced plans to significantly reduce the company's workforce. It's going to be more than 1,000 people he's going to be laying off. But it's important to be a really strong player. He says later on in here that he doesn't want to mimic Uber. He doesn't want to constantly be looking at Uber. He wants to run his own company. And uh, he says that he's copying Jeff Bezos' strategies. Outsource a lot of stress. And that's what we want to do. So the first product update was customers can pre-order their Lyft ride at the airport the moment the plane touches down. Lyft then handles the rest of the logistics to ensure the driver is waiting for the customer as they exit the airport. I love that idea. I absolutely love that idea. And the reason I love it is, as you know, I don't travel as much anymore, but I traveled for a living for 10 years. And once I started using rideshare, kind of came to the end of my tenure as a traveling worker. But I hated that you would want to order and it would always expect you to have your bags picked up already. This feature, I think it's smart, because if people start becoming aware of it, there will be a lot of travelers who will opt to do that. I would, because as soon as those wheels hit the runway, my phone was on. And if I could have, and I was returning texts and doing everything before that thing even pulled up to the gate, if I could have ordered my car then, it would be one last thing I'd have to worry about. I hated it when I had to be looking for my luggage and I'm trying to order my Uber. And then when you finally get it ordered, now you wait and wait and wait. And I think that if they can make this work and the timing is right, it works the way they say it's going to, I think they can steal a lot of Uber's business. I never used Lyft. I never use Lyft. I don't have a Lyft app on my phone. But if I could use this, I would. So that's a great feature. So I don't know what that has to do with Jeff Bezos, though. I don't know how that's outsourcing anything. So as Richard works to revive Lyft's fortunes, he faces a rival, Uber. And it says Uber did something recently with the airport pickups as well. But how does Uber's work? Step-by-step instructions to guide people through the airport. Yeah, that's not bad either. It's not bad. It depends what airport you're at. It would probably be helpful. It would certainly be helpful at LaGuardia. LaGuardia was a pain in the backside to figure out where Uber was at any given time. I hated trying to find my Uber at LaGuardia. Anywhere else, it was not a big deal. And I routinely, I went to some of the bigger airports, some of the biggest airports. I flew O'Hara a lot and Atlanta, and they were always pretty easy to find things. But I'll tell you, that LaGuardia was nonsense. Dallas Fort Worth, I flew into LAX. They were never that hard to find things. So I think that they're trumping Uber, if that's the comparison. So, Richard seemed to dash hopes that Lyft would borrow from Uber's playbook and branch into other delivery categories. He says they want to focus on ride-hailing, not get distracted by delivering pizzas or packages or all sorts of other things that other companies are doing. But I think that is how Uber is staying ahead, making their money, is they're always ahead of the next thing. Because I think they are, it's almost like, the old cartoons where there used to be old Popeye. Remember old Popeye cartoons? I know most people don't know Popeye. Sweet Pea would be a little baby. And that baby would be oblivious. And it would be crawling. And it'd be crawling on a girder. And just by chance, 2 girders would pass. And it would crawl into another one. And as that girder was lifting up, and then it would go on to a windowsill and go. And it was crazy. It was like it was just barely missing destruction, this little baby. by, the skin of its teeth. And that's kind of what Uber does. It just stays ahead of the next thing. As one thing's ready to falter and flop, it goes on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I think that's how it's staying ahead. Eventually, it's going to run out of places to move to, I guess. But so maybe by doing all this pizza delivery and thing, it's why they're not trading at $8. So it's not our focus to be part of somebody else's company. My view is every single person who's a rider should have both apps on their phone. I really believe that because sometimes you want a choice, but then we want you to choose Lyft. And the reason we want you to choose Lyft is because we think we can provide a better experience. Well, the reason he wants both apps on there is because Uber's on more phones. I just said I didn't have Lyft on mine. So Uber's on more phones, which means that if he can convince everyone, to double down, well, no, it's not exactly it, but you know what I mean, to have both apps, then they're getting on more phones than they are right now. So anyway, so there we go. I think that is about every story that I'm going to read here. The last 4 hours, my possession of the car I won't be able to use because I have to charge it. Now that's a deal. It's not the last 4 hours. It might be, who knows? It might be the middle of the day. You'll have to go and charge that car. So drug pusher, homeless guy, left his body in an abandoned apartment. My friend got murdered in Santa Monica by homeless, and those homeless guys raid abandoned apartments all the time. Well, okay, I don't want to get into that. Lyft closed at $8.19, David saying, and it was as low as $8.06. Used to get instant matches at the airport with Lyft. TLC and NYC is probably trying to make it as difficult as possible to get rideshare in LaGuardia. I know it was a pain. I didn't like it in rideshare in LaGuardia. I did it, but I didn't like it. So there we go, everybody. I hope you had a good time. It's time to call this one, put this one to bed, call it done, stick a fork in it, whatever term you want to utilize. I don't care. But I want to thank you for joining me. As always, I encourage you to like and share the videos. Leave your comments down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe by clicking my face in the corner. It's going to be in that corner, right? And don't forget to ring that bell icon. That way you'll know when I post new videos. Thanks for joining me. I'm Mark, and this is